emergencies are unpredictable, but you don't have to be unprepared. Peak Alerts sends you targeted emergency alerts in real time for evacuation orders, law enforcement activity, missing persons, and more. Choose up to 5 locations that matter to you, like home, work, and school, so you know what's going on and what to do next. It's free, easy to set up, and designed to keep you in control. Know first, act fast. That's the power of Peak Alerts.
Hey there, crew. Good afternoon. It is Sunday. We are sitting here on May 17th. This is Speaks to Plains Weather. I am Chief Meteorologist Matt Meister. Whether you are joining us on Roku, whether you are in the Peaks to Plains Weather app, whether you are on the website, whether you are on YouTube, whether you are on social media, thanks for joining us here. If you are on social media, I would ask if you don't mind kind of sharing this post here and get it into the algorithm. We would appreciate it. Let's jump right into what's happening out there this afternoon. If you look to the north from the south end of Colorado Springs on the side of Cheyenne Mountain, Broadmoor's Cloud Camp up to the north, you can see some thunderstorms and it looks a little nasty. Here is what the clouds have done early this afternoon from visible satellite here. You can see that there's been some enhancement in lift in the atmosphere over the last several hours, moving from the mountains onto the plains. There is a wave back here that is going to continue to move eastward over the next several hours. That is one of the things that is driving the thunderstorm activity this afternoon. We have seen those hit the Monument area so far. We've had some small hail. We've had some gusty wind, and you see the splashback there from the cars that are driving north on the interstate. We're kind of looking up to the north there over the Palmer Divide, and you can see that splashback, and we've had some decent rain as well. The temperature in Monument has dropped to 50 degrees here this afternoon. Castle Rock has had some thunderstorms move overhead as well, and it is a slow go on the interstate. So here's Tamco live radar, and we are watching thunderstorms this afternoon across the Palmer Divide and up across the Pikes Peak region as well. You see a strong one moving out of the north side of Colorado Springs right now. We'll put the storm tracks on here, and we do have a couple of cells that have been strengthening over the last 20 minutes. One of the strongest is off to the north of Kiowa right now. That one is starting to show signs of some rotation in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, and that shows us that it is starting to rotate. Now, one of the things we're going to watch for here over the next couple of hours is for, this cluster of cells right now, one or two of these things to jump out and become the dominant cell. If we can get one of those, that will be a storm that we'll watch, especially as they move to the northeast away from our area of maybe producing some hail up around 2 inches in diameter. That will likely be across northeastern Colorado. It's something that we'll keep an eye on, though. A little bit farther to the south, you can see the cell just to the south of Kiowa. I just queried that here. We've got DBZ or radar intensity in these cells between 45 and 55 DBZ. That's getting up to the size that can produce certainly some hail, maybe around a half inch or so in diameter. We've also seen some wind gusts around 40 miles per hour with these storms. We have the storm that has just moved across the interstate. It's currently moving across the Glen Eagle neighborhood toward High Forest Ranch, toward Highway 83, up toward Black Forest. We've got one coming out of the northeast side of Colorado Springs that has moved across the Briargate area. I got reports earlier of some small hail with that, and it's moving into Cordera, into Wolf Ranch here, and that one is also moving toward Black Forest. If I grab that Cordera cell and the heaviest core with it, it's moving off to the northeast, and storms right now have been moving between about 15 and 20 miles per hour, and so that'll take it across Black Forest here over the next 20 minutes or so. Staying to the north of Highway 24, that cell probably stays to the north of Meridian Ranch in the Falcon area as well. And if I grab the cell coming out of the Glen Eagle neighborhood and we widen the view with that and put some of the locations on that for you, would hit High Forest Ranch at about 220. So we'll keep an eye on both of those cells coming out of the north side of the Colorado Springs area here. And if I widen the view back out on the radar, you can see that there is a cell coming over Highway 24 on the east side of Pikes Peak, and a couple of cells that are moving on the west side of Pikes Peak as well. This this is a loop over the last 2 hours, and I'll slow that down a little bit for you. I'm just hearing some thunder at the Peaks to Plains weather studios right now. I'll also take those storm tracks off here for you, and you can just watch what the cells have been doing. Notice that as they have been hitting the Palmer Divide and some of the low-level moisture behind the cold front that came through this morning, they get stronger than when they're over the mountain areas. There's just not as much low-level moisture below the cloud bases over the mountains as there is for the storms to ingest once they get east of the Rockies. And you can see the radar here off to the south of the storms kind of feeding into the storms. That's the inflow that those storms are moving. And we could actually see some features that indicate some of the inflow when we were looking from the Cheyenne Mountain camera a little bit earlier. The other thing to watch here, as you see over the last couple of hours, watch how these cells are sort of pulsing. They go up, and then the updrafts collapse a little bit. So you'll see these pockets of almost purple colors that we have in there, and then they go down. This is a multicellular cluster right now that is sort of having a hard time kind of getting organized with a dominant cell becoming kind of something to watch. And we need one of these cells to become the dominant one if we are going to worry about hail around or up over an inch in diameter. Hold on, I'm texting Mary here. She's working on getting on. One of the things we like doing, Mary and I like when the weather is like this. So, we kind of get excited about it, and it's cool to be able to walk you through it as well. So we're getting heavy rain in western Elbert County right now around Kiowa, and you see the pulsating nature of these cells that continues here. And from Colorado Springs, if you are looking off to the north, let me stop this loop here. What you're seeing is the cool air with these cells that is starting to kind of rush away out ahead of these cells. We get what we call a cold pool underneath where the rain is. And if I show you that Cheyenne Mountain shot again here, looking off to the north, you can see underneath those clouds the leading edge of that cold pool that is moving off to the east. Okay, so let's bring Mary in here and we'll get her take. She's been getting a couple of reports. She is popping here in with us on Peaks to Plains weather this afternoon. Here she is, meteorologist Mary Matthews. Mary, how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing great. I'm glad I made it. Can you hear me okay?
I can. We can hear you great. It's working good. The tech is working good. We need to let everybody know we are doing things here that is like pushing the boundaries of some tech stuff. And every time we do it, or if we don't do it for a while, like we have to kind of get back in the saddle, right?
That's right. You're exactly right. I have to say, though, I think the model picked up on this really well. And what you were just saying about it's a linear fashion here, pushing southwest and northeast. But what you were just saying there about multicellular, oftentimes when you have all that shared energy, that can be a blessing in disguise because you really don't get one single cell that gets all of the energy, and hence you don't get as much larger hail. And we weren't expecting super large hail in our area today, but some hail out there.
Right.
I've seen some reports around 1/4 of an inch around Black Forest.
Which makes sense given those storms moving through. But like you said, if all of this energy was in one cell, the hail would probably be at least a 1/2 inch bigger, and we might be flirting with something that was maybe around an inch. So I agree with you that it is a saving grace to kind of see how the evolution of this has gone this afternoon.
I know. I agree. I'm going to keep an eye on our questions from our Facebook Live. If you want to keep going for just a minute, and let me get a little bit reset here.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. I'll keep cranking away on some stuff here, and we will talk about what is going to happen as we move into the rest of the afternoon, because this wave coming off the hills that I was talking about earlier is going to move these cells over the next several hours into an environment that is more favorable for not only stronger wind gusts than we have seen here locally, but also window for some larger hail as well. So if I widen out the view here, I've got the severe weather outlook on here, and Mary and I use a scale that's kind of a 1 to 5 scale, and then we put some words with it that hopefully make sense. And so this is something that we'll do every day here as we move through thunderstorm season. So we've got the Pikes Peak region and Palmer Divide kind of on the lower end of the scale and the possibility for severe weather. You can see that those cells are just getting east right now into the area where I think severe weather becomes more likely. So over the hour or so, we may see one of these cores that we were talking about that, are going up and then losing some energy to other cells, become more likely to become something worth watching and maybe something that ends up producing some severe hail. Now, when we say severe hail, what on earth are we talking about? We're early in the thunderstorm season here, so I think this is a good thing to kind of revisit because, there are specific criteria that we use and the Weather Service uses when we are talking about severe weather. And so here's what we mean. It has to be hail that's 1 inch in diameter or greater. Now, this just isn't something that we picked up willy-nilly. This is from observation over time. When I first started doing weather in Colorado Springs in the early 2000s, it was 3/4 of an inch in diameter hail that we used for the issuing of severe thunderstorms and what we would consider severe hail. But we monitored over the years that 3/4 inch hail wasn't doing the amount of damage that 1 inch diameter hail was doing. From all the reports that come in, hey, what happened to the side of your house, to your siding, to your car, and that sort of thing. And thankfully, because we live in Hale Alley in Colorado, we actually get less severe thunderstorm warnings now because we have that 1 inch diameter for the criteria. The other thing that can kick off a severe thunderstorm warning is damaging wind gusts of 58 miles per hour. Now, if you're like, what kind of rando number is 58 miles per hour? Well, it's 50 knots. And that's another way you can measure wind, and it goes back to when the Weather Bureau back in the days was starting to issue warnings and kind of has a marine tie-in. But 50 knots converts to 58 miles per hour, and so that's where that comes from. And then anytime a thunderstorm has a confirmed funnel cloud with it or is producing a tornado, we automatically consider that a severe thunderstorm as well. So when you get a push alert from the Peaks to Plains weather app, or if you get something on your phone from the Weather Service that they have issued a severe thunderstorm warning, that's the criteria that is being used. Again, I think important to note that here as we move through this afternoon and the early part of severe weather season. So over the next couple of hours, watch what happens here. So I have that 1, 2, 3 on our severe weather outlook. The storms are going to move into an environment that has more water in it, and you see dew points in the 40s out across far eastern Colorado, and you also see a northeast wind out there. These storms will move into an environment that has a little bit more wind shear, and so they'll continue to grow here. So watch what happens from where we are right now with SkyCast, and like Mary said, it did a great job this morning of not just on the timing of things, but on where the storms are as well. So that gives us confidence that it has a good kind of handle on the atmosphere. And so over the next couple of hours here between now and 3 o'clock, you see that SkyCast is kind of growing the coverage and the intensity of these cells, and then really latches on to some stronger activity here as everything moves past I-70 off to the northeast through the back part of the afternoon into the early part of the evening. And that's what I was talking about this morning. It's what Mary was talking about yesterday, and it's a similar evolution, actually, to what we ended up seeing across the area on Saturday when we did have a large hail report across the eastern part of the Palmer Divide. And I'll show you that here. These I have up over the last 24 hours, the storm reports, because we had a report of 1 3/4 inch hail that was around Hugo. And if I show you that from yesterday, you can see that here. It was 1.8 inch in diameter. But then as those storms moved off to the northeast and we had them kind of go what we call upscale approaching Kansas, we had wind gusts that were over 70 miles per hour in some cases. And we had a big dust storm that was rolling east across I-70 for travelers in east central Colorado. And we had some reports of some wind damage as well. You can see one very near the Colorado-Kansas state line that a dying tree came down. That's important. A living, healthy tree takes stronger wind gusts to bring down than a dying tree. So over the next several hours here, as those storms roll off to the east, like I said, we'll be more likely to get more severe weather reports. It'll be kind of a similar evolution to what we had yesterday. So we're kind of on the low end of things here in the Pikes Peak region, western edges of the Palmer Divide. But Mary and I did think there was a little bit higher hail risk today locally compared to what we had yesterday. So we just wanted to hop on here and let you guys know about that. All right. Let's see. We've got Danita says flying trampoline when the winds are strong. Yeah, we have a flying trampoline warning. Mary wants to come back in. Mary is raising her hand. Mary, this is not school. You don't need to do that. You just, give me a knock and I'll get you back on.
Got a question. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, I know, right? Excuse me. I want to know where Danita is, because if you notice, we got a nice little outflow boundary now pushing east of Highway 24. And
here, let me come back to that.
I picked up on a good gust there. That would be just past Banning Lewis Ranch. If you put it in motion, you can see it.
Yep,
yeah, it's
for
kind
sure.
of showing up there.
You sure can. Yep.
So on that note, I know we might be getting a little bit of feedback from my mic. So
we're good. We're not getting anything from you.
Okay. Just
we're
let me know
clean
if it
as
is.
can be. Clean as a whistle, Mary.
But if that really picks up, not only, I think the dew points are high enough east of there, still we could see some new storm development from that outflow boundary, but that is going to send some trampolines flying. It doesn't look like it's super fast right now, but you can see the outflow starting to form there. You could point it out, Matt. You've got control right now.
Right there. So that's that little thin line that Mary's talking about, and you can see it come away from the storm here. So I'll show that to you, and then I'll take it off. So right at the edge of, right where I have that cold front drawn, and you can see this little thin green line move over Falcon away from the storm. That's the outflow boundary that Mary is talking about. And Mary, what we can do is we can put this on now, and then we'll go to the velocity, and we'll see if velocity is picking that up.
Yeah.
So,
how
and you can
fast
see it
is.
right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if we loop that, you should see it in the velocity image as well. So what you're seeing is from the Pueblo radar, which is off to the northeast of Pueblo, that green that you see there running into the red, the green is wind that's moving toward the radar, and that's the strong wind gusts that Mary's talking about. So this is the cool descending air from the storms that's fanning out in front of it.
We just got a question, I believe it was on your Facebook page, which is a great question. Are all the storms going to stay north of Highway 24 today? This is from Cameron. And you and I talked about this yesterday, that the outflow boundaries are often the wild card, even though that cold front is still to our north and it looks like it's going to slow down just a bit. Once those outflow boundaries start to come away from the storm, they kind of are like a little pseudo cold front, if you will. They're kind of a focal point for new storm development. So if that happens, you can certainly get storms south of Highway 24, and I think we will. And I think we're already probably going to see that in the next few hours. I think we were expecting that today. But, it's a good question, because the general orientation of the storms is that southwest to northeast trend due to how our system is set up.
Yeah, great question. Good eye on that, Mary, and thanks for using that opportunity to point that out, right? Like, that was fantastic. I think one of the other things we can watch here, especially with this outflow boundary, is this camera from Cloud Camp, right? Because if we see something right along the edge of that cool air, we're looking right up toward that thing across Colorado Springs. We'll watch these clouds off onto the right-hand side here, because if we see some of those start to vertically grow, we know that outflow boundary is starting to do some lifting there. So great point that you
There's
make.
another report we just got from Vicky. Thank you, Vicky. County Line Road, west of I-25. Storm has moved east. There was pea-sized hail for a little bit. Wonderful rain and thunder, she said. Then currently blue skies to the west. That was about 3 minutes ago. And then Jennifer said out in Meridian Ranch just had a few bursts of wind. The sky was super dark and now not as much. And I think, Jennifer, thank you for that. I think that'll be the general trend today is it may feel intense while it's here. But we do have to watch those outflow boundaries because I had damage in my house on Friday.
Right.
Roof damage from an outflow boundary.
On really a day that wasn't that impressive, right? Like
It wasn't, but this is the land of, outflow boundaries happen all over the U.S. and all over the globe, but
right.
I am amazed at how they collide out here, how they operate. There's so much dust to pick up there. You can see them so well. This is the land of a lot of pulsing up with these storms and then collapsing, and it's fascinating to watch, but it was pretty intense. And I had to, tie down my grill. I'm always scared my grill is going to walk off the porch and something major is going to happen with that. But
because it's got wheels or what?
Yeah. Well, and then, we have an elevated deck and then we get all this wind coming through.
Oh, that makes sense.
And it pushes it over towards the stairs. And then before you know it, it's riding down the stairs. And that's scary with propane and all the things, So,
Mary, you got to lock that thing down. I'm telling you what.
We have it locked down now. Yeah, we've got it back.
Got to do it, right?
We've got it down for sure. But it looks like, it looks like now north of Shoup Road or north of Highway 24, a nice little double small hail core there, just south of 86.
Yeah, absolutely. And these things still, this one wasn't there 10 minutes ago. That's how quick they are going up and collapsing. One of the things that I like to look at is a cross section of these things to kind of see how high they are. And
I love some cross section.
Oh, you got to get cross sections it's what makes the meteorological world go round.
That's right.
And you can see that these are not that tall.
Not super impressive, yeah.
What's interesting though, if you look at the back edge of that, I'll use an arrow here to show everybody what I'm talking about. Right here, see how that's higher than these older cores? That's kind of how multi-cell storms work. Like a new updraft will go up and then kind of mature and die out. That's what's happening off to the right here. And that's that kind of go up and collapse that we've been talking about and watching here as we, put things into motion. So on cue, I'll do that over the last couple of hours, and you can see if you are just joining us how these things go up and then die out.
Yeah, that was a great explainer, and it's certainly working into a more favorable environment. That area's had more sunshine today, and it looks like down to our south, that little outflow boundary is got a nice little cell that's riding along the southwestern side of that outflow boundary near the Broadmoor. It's not really much, just a little shower.
Well, and that atmosphere has been turned over a couple times already, right? It doesn't have the oomph that thing out on the front end does. I don't know what you think about this, but this will be interesting to watch if this cell here can kind of become a dominant one. It's right on the crest of the Palmer Divide. It's got inflow coming into it. It's the leading storm, and it's moving into an environment that's more favorable. So maybe that's one to watch here over the next half hour or so.
Yeah, the HRRR I was just looking at, it's one of our high resolution models that refreshes quite a bit. Actually, the latest run shows that cell blowing up quite a bit as it gets to alignment in terms of strong winds, kind of bowing out. So it will be interesting to watch because it may become more outflow dominant after it kind of pulses up and you get all that energy kind of slamming into areas east of the Palmer Divide. So that'll be interesting to watch. Any other questions that you have for Matt and I, just let us know. We're live on Facebook right now. He's under Matt Meister. I'm under Mary Matthews, taking your questions. Of course, we expected the strong to severe storms to be the highest out across the eastern plains today. We did not expect any widespread severe weather here in the Pikes Peak region necessarily, but we couldn't rule out one or two storms getting a bit more robust. But I was at the Air Force Academy this morning watching my son play flag football, And you're right. We did have a bit of an overworked atmosphere kind of on the west side and
Right.
down to the south towards Colorado Springs. So that may kind of keep things from getting too strong.
I was walking out of church at, was walking from one part of church to the other right before 11 o'clock, and it was sprinkling already this morning. So, if you're doing that, you are taking some of the energy versus if you cooked things up for another hour or two, right?
I know. If we could have had more sunshine this morning, for sure, that would have been great. I have not seen I think maybe you just showed this, the graph for this afternoon. I mean, obviously, can we see
I
that
did.
again?
We can go back to it if you want, for sure, and show that evolution. But before we do that, I was going to say, this is the exact same area that had a storm yesterday around Simla, and then kind of rolled toward Lyman. Remember when you and I were texting, this is right where, as basically this same sort of cell yesterday approached Lyman, was when we got the first severe thunderstorm warning. And that's because of the terrain, right? The Palmer Divide is a magical place. You push that southeast wind into that hill between the Springs and Denver and the side of Pikes Peak, and boom, thunderstorms.
I know.
Exact
You
same
always
spot.
get your mid-level rotation right there too, even if
Yes.
it doesn't really materialize all the way down to the surface. It's like that
Right.
friction-induced spin. So, yeah, it's really interesting. I am really curious about kind of how that's going to evolve through the day, because I'm a little bit late catching up here, getting back from football. Has that changed much?
No, I mean, this is kind of how it was looking earlier. The timing is about right. And this is storm relative velocity here.
Right.
And so you can see actually that kind of right in here, it's starting to want to show some mid-level rotation that you talked about. And then here's that outflow boundary back to the south. So I agree. It's in the right spot. It'll be interesting to watch that. So here's the next few hours from the graph, and then we can put the HER on here as well. It's funny you call it HRRR. I've always called it the HER.
Wait, well, I think I call it the HER too, but I think because we're on with viewers,
Oh,
I don't want to be
we
like
should
the
be more
her,
formal.
And they're like, are they talking about a girl, a person? What's going on?
It's like an old car, right? Guys call it HER. Anyways, Mary and I can get sidetracked pretty easy. Okay, you guys will learn that when the two of us are doing stuff together. I mean, it has the idea here, right? This is 3 o'clock, so it's going to be a little bit slow on the timing. And I think it's going to...
It's got the same, it's similar. It's similar, yeah.
Yeah, similar idea. This thing is probably going to ride the terrain more than that model showing it move off to the northeast. It's probably going to go to the east a little bit more, is what history says. So Simla, Matheson, out on Highway 24, beautiful drive between the northeast side of El Paso County out toward Lyman, in an area that needs some rain. We'll keep watching that storm here that's rolling off to the east.
Peggy says sound is echoing. I think the feedback is because I have my computer speakers on and I have to be able to hear. So I have it turned down quite a bit, but the echoing, I'm sure, is not.
Oh, well, you know what? It might be me too. Let me keep saying something real quick. Let me turn mine down.
And then Donna Frost says, anything coming down to Pueblo? Emily is asking, do we have any hail possible in Briargate? Nothing right now in the Briargate area, but in Black Forest, we had pea-sized hail reported, I think mixed in with some heavy raindrops, really. And then Jennifer said she already read that one from Jennifer. But Peggy, we'll work on the sound. Thank you for letting us know that.
Yeah, there might be some spits moving toward Pueblo, to go back to that question that you were just asking. We're picking up in some of those cumulus clouds, maybe getting some spits around Pueblo West. Nothing heavy if we are getting something on Highway 50. It's all up to the north.
Yeah, I think Pueblo's day is going to be tomorrow for at least some measurable precipitation, but the severe weather risk stays primarily around the Pikes Peak region. The Heather asks, is the severe risk petering out around the Springs proper for the evening? It's possible. We still have the front to our north. Matt, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm a little late catching up on some of the surface observations, but in terms of the severe weather risk, the more the atmosphere gets overworked and the more that we have these ongoing storms right now, it kind of helps to bring some stabilization because it gets overworked just a bit. So that should lessen the risk this evening. But we still have a lot of forcing in the atmosphere to the north. So we'll have to keep our eyes on that. It depends on how much sunshine we get after this first round.
Right.
That's also something we have to look at.
Yeah, when I was looking this morning, that front moved a little farther south and had a little more oomph than it looked like yesterday. And what I think we're looking at here is kind of this, what I think now is that main first push that we're seeing across Elbert County there.
Yeah.
Anything that's going to be severe, I think, will be associated with that and any cells a little farther to the north. We may get, these couple trailing sort of cells back behind it, like we were seeing. But I don't know, Mary, I have a hard time thinking in an atmosphere that's been worked over a couple times already.
Yeah, I agree.
And you see that outflow there is pretty pronounced from Calhan back towards security. History just tells me that I'm not sure.
We've seen. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you completely. And right. I don't know that I foresee the sun really popping out in a huge way after this first. Sometimes when that happens, just to tell people as we go into the summer, sometimes when you get the main line, you get it early, and then the sun comes out. The sun is an added, component that destabilizes the atmosphere and can help it recover to become more unstable as the front continues, or the main system continues to push through. So you can get redevelopment, but I don't think we're going to see that today. We have had another comment here. I think this is from Michelle. I've had huge Traeger XL literally blow over in some of the wind gusts and mountain shadows. The lid replacement was a few dollars. Okay, I think she's talking about stuff in the past. That Traeger is a few hundred
pounds. The Traeger. What kind of grill you got? Do you have a Traeger?
No. Don't have a Traeger. It's some. I really don't know.
You just want to eat the barbecue. That's all you care about, right?
Yeah, you just called it a barbecue. Do you call it a barbecue or a grill?
Well, I'll let it grill. I mean,
okay.
I don't. Well, to me, I think barbecue is more like low and slow, right? Like, we cook this thing 10, 12 hours, whereas grill's more like get that steak or chicken breast on the grill and.
Yeah, my husband always says barbecue. Sorry, honey, if you're watching. He's always like, I'm going to put some steaks on the barbecue. I'm like, what? Is that an oxymoron?
Well, I guess, different parts of the country calling things, different stuff.
So I'm sure there's plenty of people. It's for sure it's split 50-50. It can, that's interesting. Yeah, those strong winds can certainly take over a big old Traeger grill.
Richard just said he's getting some pea-sized hail. Richard, let us know where you are at, getting sideways rain with the wind at 2:30. So maybe he's, maybe up on the north end of Paso County and the south end of that cell that we are watching here. Let us know, though, sir. Thank you for that report. We sure do appreciate it.
I did see that Denver, this is outside of our viewing area, they got a quarter of an inch of rain in 20 minutes. So pretty good dose. And that's just kind of goes to show you, to remind people, we can give you these rain forecasts all day long about what we think the storm in its entirety is going to spit out. But if you get underneath a thunderstorm, which sometimes can be very hard to pinpoint, you can get that kind of measurement very quickly. Yeah,
so was that from DIA that you saw?
No, it was one of the news stations, one of the meteorologists of the news stations.
Okay.
And then... I mentioned that pea-sized hail in Black Forest. We've had a lot of that, but it looks like we just got all rain now. So looks like that main little line was a good punch of energy for us for a minute. And then look at all that. Nice dose of rain. It's good to see for sure. It looks like Pueblo's starting to see a few showers as well.
Yeah, just I think some spits down there. Let's check the traffic cameras down that way. It's always kind of, you'll hear Mary and I talk about this every now and then, that radar has some limitations. Sometimes it doesn't, it shows us what's happening where the beam is up above our heads, and we don't necessarily, we don't know what's happening at the surface. But this afternoon, I mean, I'm pretty sure that some of this is making it down to the ground. It's certainly nothing heavy at this point, and that's not Pueblo West. That's in Pueblo, but yeah. Nothing heavy as of yet. If you're watching from Pueblo West, if you're getting some spits, let us know. We'd like to pass that on to folks and share that news. So,
what are our dew points south of Colorado Springs with that outflow boundary?
Current dew points, well, we've seen that southwest wind come off of the hills. And so you kind of have, if I did a quick and dirty analysis here, I mean, we're almost getting a low kind of southwest of Pueblo with a warm front kind of coming off the hills away from that low. So this is just quick and dirty analysis here, but we kind of have something like this going on. So back to the south of this, dew points have been dropping off in that southwest wind.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, you have some erratic stuff out here to the north of the warm front, and then there's in the wind field, we're getting outflow from some of these storms here. So the wind flow you see is a little bit messy, but that's kind of the general. Maybe the warm front's a little north of where I drew it right there, but
Gotcha.
That kind of makes sense. Something like that.
It's recovering just a little bit.
Something maybe more like that.
Well, I think we could reset.
Yeah, I think so.
I was really loving the direction you were going before I popped on with the general movement of the storms. If people are just now popping on, I'm going to check and see if we've got any more questions.
Okay.
And just as a heads up, Matt and I are doing this today, not because we feel like it's like a fear-mongering we got major severe weather out there today, but this is kind of the first few days of the season, right? So we want to be prepared, work out technical kinks, and we want to be able to be there for you as we do get into maybe some more serious days later this year.
Right. And I mean, this is what we're about, right? Like we're not covering up a golf tournament or anything like that. I mean, this is Peaks to Plains weather. So when there's weather, we can pop on and we can do stuff. Imagine that.
Yeah.
It's pretty legit. All right, Mary, you check some other stuff, and I'll keep moving forward here for folks that are jumping in and out. We know that's going to happen when we're doing the live coverage here. I'll take you from now into the rest of the afternoon, and then we'll actually maybe start talking about what happens as we move into tomorrow and the early part of the week, because if you're on here with us, we might as well do that. So with where that storm is now over Elbert County, you can see that SkyCast has the right idea here. It's a little bit slow on its forecast. The storms are a little farther east than where this thing is. Here's 3 o'clock. That cell's already from about Simla, kind of to the north of there, running across Elbert County. But over the next couple of hours, the idea is right that this whole movement of storms, even out of the Pikes Peak region, will kind of continue off to the northeast because this is the steering flow that is out ahead of the trough that we are talking about for the early part of next week. I do think that cell in Elbert County is going to be a little bit farther south than what SkyCast is showing here because it's going to ride the terrain. So there will be some cells that are moving northeast, but we'll watch the cells that get a little bit more of an eastward movement to them. Those will be the ones that will tend to have not only the potential for some larger hail, but some stronger wind gusts as well. And if you see the storms clustered up like that out across eastern Colorado, as we move toward 5 and 7 o'clock, those things will become some pretty significant wind makers across the area. Let me show you a wider view here, and let's start talking about what happens over the next couple of days. Because we have this system off to our west that we have been talking about for a good part of a week now. And over the western U.S., you can see that there is some snow back up across northern parts of Nevada, believe it or not, this afternoon. And so that shows you that this has some pretty chilly air with it. There's also some snow up across parts of Idaho, up across western parts of Montana. And so if I put the jet stream on here for you, you can see that there is a pretty significant jet streak diving into the backside of this system. And the stronger a jet streak is, that's one of the ways that's a clue to us that there's a separation between some warm and some cold air. So to see some snow down here in a part of Nevada that usually doesn't get that this time of year. That shows you that this system does have some cold air with it, of course. We are in the southwest flow today. Out ahead of it, there is a little kink in the flow. In fact, there is a couple of them. These are the waves that are helping to drive some of the thunderstorms today. They're really subtle, but they are there and they are doing the lift and helping to kind of drive these thunderstorms. Let's talk about what happens over the next couple of days, because as we move through tonight, we get this system to come in from the west to end up over the northwestern part of Colorado into early tomorrow morning and through the middle part of the day. And then it's going to take a jog off to the northeast as we move from Monday night into Tuesday. But that doesn't mean that we are done, because check this out. You see back here, see this kind of kink in the flow back here over Nevada and California? Well, that's some energy in the atmosphere, a wave, you'll hear us call it. And that is going to interact with the cool air that is east of the Rocky Mountains. And eventually we'll see some cool air move over the Rockies as well. So if I take this a little bit farther into the future, from Tuesday afternoon into Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, and we're still in southwest flow out ahead of that little subtle dip in the black lines that you see back over northern Arizona, Vegas, over St. George, Utah, that overrunning in that southwest flow is probably going to help to give us a little bit of lift in the atmosphere to keep us kind of cool and unsettled, I think, into Wednesday. Now, this is Wednesday morning right here, but if I show you the same computer model a little farther out into the future, and we'll just walk you from tomorrow evening into and through Tuesday and into Wednesday, watch what happens with this. So remember, that main wave is kind of lifting off to the northeast as we head into Monday night. There may be a couple showers around into early Tuesday morning. I can't guarantee that those ones are going to be there, but we're pushing that cool air up against the eastern Rockies, and we have some general kind of light, large-scale lift over the top of that. So it's certainly a possibility. And early Tuesday, we will be colder than what we have as we move from tonight into Monday morning. So you see SkyCast is trying to show a couple snowflakes even over the Palmer Divide. Again, I can't guarantee yet that that is going to be there, but it's certainly something that we'll watch. However, as we move into the back part of Tuesday and that system from the west gets closer, we destabilize the atmosphere with the heating of the day, the energy from the sun. We will see some showers develop, and these are more likely to last into Wednesday morning as we start to get under the influence of that system coming in from the west. Now, it's late May. By this point on Wednesday, we're at the 20th of May. And so obviously, terrain plays a role on who gets rain and who gets snow. So does the time of day. But it is possible that we get some light accumulation over our mountain areas west of I-25 when the timing is right and the intensity of these showers is right as we move through the afternoons and evenings. Obviously, when the just daily diurnal temperature movement up and down happens and you can get a heavier shower to move overhead, you'll drop the rain and snow line. So that's something that I think Mary and I are going to have to take in like 12 to 24 hour stretches here as we watch the evolution of that system from the west with that cooler air in this over the eastern plains. But look at that into Wednesday. SkyCast is pretty excited about some decent moisture across the area lasting into Wednesday night before we would get that thing out of here. So how much water are we talking about? Well, let me show you that. I'm going to pull up, this is the same computer model here, and I am going to run this, and I'm just going to edit this while we're on here together. So I'm taking this from, let's do right now, through Wednesday at, let's do 10 p.m. And so now I got to change the banner. This is the kind of stuff that, like, you know, you get to see us do together that, you know, when you were watching Mary and I on TV, you didn't get to see this stuff because we had it already. But as we just kind of ebb and flow and talk about different things, you get to watch this in real time. So I looked at this, I showed this model this morning, but this is a new model run that I haven't shown yet that takes us through Wednesday evening. And so you can see the potentials picking up for some moisture over a ½ inch. Like that's getting a little bit more likely here in southern Colorado as we move into the middle part of the week. And obviously that is good news. I mean, we always will take the water in Colorado, but it's also getting a little more on the higher end of some things, over an inch perhaps, up across the Palmer Divide, and that's just something that we'll have to keep an eye on. So if we look at the detailed forecast here through the week, here's what the extendeds kind of look like. And I'll show you that here, and I'll let you look at this in full screen so you can focus on the details. So Pueblo will have a chance of some showers tomorrow. I think as we move into Tuesday afternoon, you know, we may start to see some from the west that may not move into Pueblo until Tuesday evening. But we're staying cool and unsettled here with temperatures in the 60s. And then maybe our best chance of rain coming across a good chunk of southern Colorado on Wednesday. And while it will be showery, certainly expect some embedded thunderstorms in there. That's not a pattern that screams severe weather. Thursday may have some thunderstorms around in the afternoon as that upper level system moves off to the east. But then for the weekend, I think we get into a pattern that's more indicative of the typical afternoon and evening stuff that ends up being more tied to the higher terrain. So for Colorado Springs, cool and unsettled here early in the week. As we get into the late part of the week, again, watching some showers in the afternoons and evenings up over the mountain areas. And then for Monument as well, we kind of dry out some and warm up some as we head into the back part of the week. So that's kind of what that looks like as of now. I'm going to pop back, bring Mary back in here with us because she's got something to add. So Mary, go ahead.
Well, it looks like we have a little appendage showing up in Rama. So I was going to get you to bring the radar back.
Oh, thanks for bringing me back to the focus.
No, you did great. That's great. But, you know, I can't tell if we've got a dislodge of an outflow here. Or we've got a little bit of an appendage because the velocity is showing.
Pop back in here.
Maybe some messy little
you're right.
swirls and rotation.
Yep, you were right. Oh, yeah, that thing's looking a lot more organized here for sure. So what Mary was talking about, and you can go ahead and walk through this, but you were talking, I don't know why I keep the arrow on there. Let me take that off.
Might be easier with F. It's hard to tell. It's very messy convection right now.
It is.
You know, this is what you were talking about earlier when you have the terrain influence with those inflow winds. You can kind of get a little bit of spin as the system kind of ejects east of the Palmer Divide. So it looked a little bit better. It looked a little bit better on my radar over here. But yeah, you can see that's the outflow boundary. So it's hard to tell.
Yeah, let me take one of these off here. So here's the Pueblo radar. And then here's the radar out of the Front Range Airport. And this is kind of in a spot where you have to kind of use both. Because it's almost equidistant between the two. Whoops. Do you want to see velocity on one of them?
Kind of.
Let's see. So here's...
I mean, if anything, they're just getting some wind. Rama.
Yeah. So that's the storm relative right there. And then there's straight.
It looks like this the beginning of the pushing in outflow winds that are...
Yep.
The model was picking up on earlier. So it's going to, and I think as that storm starts to move east, that's going to be some 60, 70 mile an hour gusts as it moves into Lincoln County. That's possible.
Yeah, which is like what they had yesterday. So we'll keep an eye on that. This certainly has become the dominant cell though. Remember how kind of when we started, we were talking about that. Like here's the Front Range radar and notice how everything farther to the north, like that has a lot more becoming stratiform kind of look to it.
Yeah.
Almost. And so, I would expect this cell to almost just drive straight east on I-70 there.
Yeah. So for everyone just joining us, nothing imminent happening around our region. This is some nice thunderstorms. You're going to hear some rolls of thunder. We're just kind of, we kind of hopped on, about 30 minutes ago, and We expected things to be a little intense on the front end, and now we're seeing just some general thunderstorms, which is a good thing because that means you can kind of sit back and relax just a bit and enjoy some of the rain showers. So if you're just now hopping on with us, this is, we're looking for the hail more towards the north and east, kind of outside of our viewing areas where those parameters are going to be the highest today.
Yep. And this cell is running right on Highway 86 out east of Kiowa. Moving to the northeast, the core is being tracked within that at about 22 miles per hour. So I have these little indicators you see here in 15-minute increments. So that would have it moving across I-70 between Agate and Lyman between 30 and 45 minutes from now. So Mary and I will keep an eye on this. I don't think we need to beat a dead horse or anything. I mean, I think the hail with this could be getting up over a half inch if I look at that core now. But like you said, wind threat is going to be picking up here over the next 30 to 45 minutes as well as this system gets set to move out of Elbert County and eventually across northern Lincoln County. Should stay to the north Highway 94 through Pumpkin Center, running out toward Highway 40 and 287. And, Lyman's going to get hit for the second day in a row with a thunderstorm. They'll certainly take the rain, but, they're hoping that the hail sizes stay at a manageable level, and so do we.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, gives everybody anxiety. I guess we got a land spout reported I-70 and Tower Road from the NWS office in Boulder, so that's farther north, and that's, kind of where we were expecting. God, land spouts are so hard to find, aren't they?
Yeah, they're rough.
Easy to find.
Sometimes they're thinner than the radar beam. So you can't see them. Let's take just the front radar here because
on that note, before we let folks go, I want to check DIA, see what's going on. Because I know I was mentioning that yesterday if people had inbound and outbound flights for DIA, or if you were heading to the airport, sometimes they can do those little ground stops and certainly have delays. Let's see here. We'll pull up our little.
Yeah, it's hard to think they didn't have one, right? I mean,
I know.
Those things are moving kind of right toward them and sort of split the difference there. A little bowling action. Watch that. Boop.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure the crews were in. So yeah, that's always flying into Denver on a summer afternoon is always a wild card.
Now, if you want to know the meteorology perspective, as a meteorologist, when I book flights, if it is between April and September, I try really hard not to get an afternoon flight because it's just too predictable with afternoon instability and then the monsoon flow and moisture. You're going to have issues getting out of DIA. It's not always, but I try to always get those early morning flights when the atmosphere can be counted on to be the most stable in the morning.
Right. All right, so I think that should cover it for now. We have obviously some active weather that we talked about here that we have to watch early in the week. It's nice to have some active weather to forecast here, getting to the time of year where, the likelihood of significant impacts from snow at lower elevations really drops like almost every 2 or 3 days that goes by. But we can't rule out some snowflakes, especially if you have a thunderstorm at the right time of, evening or something like that over the Palmer Divide. And we'll keep focused on that over the next couple of days as, we like this opportunity for some water that we have here coming through the middle part of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if we get any snow, it's going to be kind of a wide period, right? Where we're going to have a little bit of snow, then a lot of melting, especially west of I-25. So for those that are worried, is that going to impact travel? I don't foresee that this week. I don't know how you feel, but 1 to 3 inch range, 2 to 4 on the higher side, maybe above 7,000 feet. Right. You're still going to have cycles of melting and transitioning back to rain. So, it's going to be a decent amount of water, but we're not overly worried about travel impacts.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think you're right on target there, and that's pretty typical for the time of year too. So, all right, well, that will do it for Mary and I this go round. If you haven't downloaded the Peaks to Plains weather app, you should. And Mary and I would both be appreciative if not just that you turned your location on, because that's how we can take best care of you. If there's a severe thunderstorm warning or if we're doing coverage like this, we'll send things out to people that are out ahead of storms and say, hey, you guys, like as an example, if this thing was rolling toward Pueblo, maybe coming across Fremont County, we'd be letting Canyon City and Pueblo know that, hey, a decently strong storm is coming your way, but we're not going to waste your time if you're in Salida or something like that. So keeping the location turned on is a good way that we can take care of you. And we'd also appreciate it, right, Mary, if everybody, when they're at work and if they're like, oh, hey, they were doing a good job Sunday afternoon, maybe tell your coworkers and your family about Peaks to Plains weather.
Yeah, definitely do that, because word of mouth is very powerful, especially here in Colorado. For people that are new to the state, the weather can be a bit jarring, so especially if you're from a calmer area of the country. So sharing that and passing it along is pretty vital.
Yeah, it's I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but I've had a couple times when I've been at weather conferences where people have said, why are you still in Colorado doing that to yourself? Like, why are you, it's like, it keeps us on our toes, right?
It's challenging. It's more challenging. I think there's a few other places I would say in the country that have the same amount of challenge that we have here east of the Rockies, but it's more challenging than most locations. So yeah, you have to, I always think you say it best. You have to be humble and, take on the challenge and not let it stress you out too much.
Yeah, I agree with you. For those of you, before we let you go here, Simla out toward Lyman areas in eastern Elbert County, dealing with that storm, some hail around a half inch or so in diameter, maybe a little bit bigger than that, and some wind gusts between 40 miles per hour that over the next hour, and this storm is starting to become outflow dominant a little bit, I can tell there, which is per forecast, and we'll start to get the wind gusts here as it continues over eastern Colorado, up around 60 miles per hour here over the next couple of hours. So we'll keep an eye on that. We've got some storms moving out of Colorado Springs. Mary and I appreciate you being part of Peaks to Plains weather. This is our weather together, and we don't mean just Mary and I here. It's like the collective.
One big family.
Yeah, big family, exactly. Neighbors helping neighbors. So thanks for stopping by this afternoon. If we get a severe thunderstorm warning or something like that and it's close enough to the viewing area here, we'll let you know. But once it gets north of I-70, we kind of let things go. But you can still use the Peaks to Plains weather app if you're traveling in that area. You can keep your location turned on. You can use the weather map in there. You can track the storms yourself. It's highly customizable. If you have not pushed buttons in the Peaks to Plains weather app, you should certainly do so. So for Mary, I'm Matt, and thanks for stopping by today. We appreciate it, and we'll keep an eye on the storms here the rest of the afternoon. Thanks for stopping by.
Bye.